I'm not going to show you or bring out every firearm we've introduced, but there's a lot of stolen guns. Think about, we don't know where all those guns came from. Sometimes you heard from the person whose home was burglarized or car was broken into, and you said, yes, this was a report from this location. But, you know, you add these up, it's a decent number of stolen guns. These are all overt acts. You know, Jeffrey Williams' Sig Sauer, September 9th, 2013. Defendant Kendrick with Arnold when they were riding back into near Trestle Tree Confederate, the same location Miss Bennett lived at, right? On October 1st, 2015, after Martinez Arnold got jumped at Magic City. 40 cal stolen. FN 57, that is the stop that Officer Fikes did of Jeffrey Williams and Sergio Kitchens. Why are all these stolen weapons from 2013, 2015, 2017, 2018, 2020, 2015, and 2022? You heard from Detective Liam Packer that it was some train theft from the ATF, that a cargo shipment. That's acquiring or maintaining property, stolen guns. Ask yourself where all these stolen guns come, and you've seen, like when Quindarius Zachary is arrested with the gun on May 7th, 2015, that came back with Nibin when Kilgore testified to the shooting of Miss Frida Reed's house. When it matched that, the guns exchange hands. The guns move around, and stolen guns are harder to trace. That's acquiring and maintaining property and evidence of it. I just included a couple photos because we have a lot to cover, but that is stolen property, all tethered to A. In 2022, right, this is the gun that was reported stolen, that right before they went to the house on Meadowlark Drive, it was thrown out and recovered, and it came back stolen. Again, stolen weapons from as far back as 2013 to stolen weapons as recently as 2022. There's common patterns that indicate that they get stolen firearms quite easily. Subsection B. This is where all the violent acts come up. So the first objective, and your indictment's not going to have numbers, is going to be conspiracy to violate subsection B with the state's objective of murder, aggravated assault, and threats of violence. So we're going to walk through some of these so I can explain to you why they further the criminal objectives of YSL. So, simple definition, while associated with an enterprise, YSL, they knowingly and willfully conspire with one or more co-conspirators to participate in the enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity, and any of the co-conspirators committed an overt act after May 10th, 2017. If you notice, other than what's in green, everything's the same as A. So these same factors and principles will come up for both. So I got to explain to you what is participate in the enterprise and what are these criminal objectives. So we're going to start with the murder, aggravated assault, and threats of violence and go from there. So again, page 12 of the indictment, it outlines the conspiracy. I'm not going to read all this for you now, but it states the Young Slime Life enterprise and what the criminal objectives are right after. That's where you can find it on page 12 of the indictment you're going to have. These are these objectives. I've removed them from the indictment, but we're going to start with the first one. Murder, assault, threats of violence. And then we're going to talk about robbery, theft, unlawful sale, and distribution of drugs. So let's walk through this. Again, we're going to go objective by objective because it helps to organize the evidence. And objective one, murder, assault, and threats of violence. So you've heard about pattern of racketeering activity. What is racketeering activity? The good news for y'all is the indictment, anytime you see, it will state, which is an act of racketeering activity, and then it'll cite a statute. This is what explains what racketeering activity is. This is the murder of Donovan Thomas. And you'll see when you are deciding, which is overt act 16 through 20 is the murder of Donovan Thomas. When y'all are back there and saying, I want to figure out if something's a pattern of racketeering or figure out if an overt act is a racketeering activity. That will tell you. That's your snapshot. So just look. This is overt act 17, which is the murder. 16 is when Jeffrey Williams rents the vehicle. But when you see what's highlighted, you'll know it's racketeering activity. So I just wanted to show that for you. And then we're going to walk through this now. We're going to talk about Donovan Thomas first, overt acts 16 through 20.
The last one on the line for the 6204.
Yes, police over here on the north side of McDaniel.
North side of McDaniel. Why did you put
Yes. At Harold living in the barber shop. Somebody done got shot.
Mr. Parker, who you testified, who's owned a barber shop there for 20 years. Barber shop right here. And Kendrick Stillwell, this is Demise McMullen. Now we'll talk about this in a minute. This is actually the photograph from when they shot Dexter Montgomery. Same case with D'Angelo White when they left that Jonesboro gas station in Lakewood and got to the four-way stop. That's the photograph from that. So you have Nard, but that's Demise McMullen, Shannon Stillwell, Kendrick. This is obviously the shooting. Overt act is, did Jeffrey Williams rent the Infiniti Q50 and act in furtherance of the conspiracy? When you think about these overt acts, think how the criminal objectives. Ms. Hilton's going to talk to you and walk through bit by bit the murder itself of Donovan Thomas. But I argue to you, as she will too, that has been proven beyond a reasonable doubt, and that renting of the Infiniti is an overt act that was used to facilitate the murder. And you've seen a pattern of rental cars being used. And ask yourself why. They're harder to trace. People don't recognize you in that car. Now, how is Donovan Thomas's murder evidence of RICO? Well, I'm gonna tell you. That's Donovan Thomas. This is about to be Wooney Lee.
Before y'all nigga with slime.
This shit is in blood. We wrote this shit in
I
blood.
probably had it before slime.
And we also wrote it on nigga too.
We wrote it on a tombstone. And that's Donovan Thomas's gravestone. And when Miss Edmonds, who testified to you about recognizing that, she didn't wipe graffiti, she didn't wipe paint off that tombstone. She wiped a confession. And that confession says slapped, because that's who it's for, that's who it's from, that's who publicly has acknowledged that murder since it happened. YSL, the criminal enterprise. And that same slap in green handwriting, Defendant Stillwell is posting in, 7 years later in a slime t-shirt, right? Peanut Stone Gray. That's the translation version. He put it in Spanish. Wooney Lee's comment, his comment, they're all talking about and kind of joking sheepishly about a murder of Donovan Thomas. It's we, it's us, it's criminal enterprise. Now, we talked about Kendrick's tattoo, which is about to come up on his left forearm. I don't know when he got this tattoo, when this Zoom works with me and it comes up. I don't know if he had that tattoo of slat on his arm while he's driving the Infiniti Q50 past 330 McDaniel Street and Nard and Shannon shot and killed Donovan Thomas, but that same green slat ends up on the gravestone. It's not a coincidence. And they're telling you that they did it, and they just don't care, because as you said when we started, slimes are above the law, but they didn't think about you. Now,
swear to God, we kill nuts, so they gonna stay on you.
You hear it as clear as I hear it. I swear to God, nobody accused Dolly of murdering Donovan Thomas. Who's the we? And then you hear in the background, we smoke nut. And if you remember that call right before that, Woody saying, tell your brother I love him. And then you can hear Jeffrey Williams say, tell him I love him. Right there next to him. We killed nut. We put it on his tombstone. Slat, and then just making a cheapest joke this years later. They're telling you we did it. They just don't care. And that's Shannon Stillwell in that same video. And there's a live snake and a YSL chain. It's out in the open. Beat a murder rap. Now, we're going to turn to Jamari Holmes next. And I'm going to explain to you why that murder that Rodelius Ryan and Damon Blaylock did is in furtherance of the YSL criminal street gang, which is overt act 79 through 81, February 23rd, 2019. That's the vehicle that 15-year-old Jamari Holmes was in. This is Rodelius Ryan, This is Blaylock throwing up YSL, which is also an overt act. That public display of allegiance. It's going to come up in just a second. That's Jamari Holmes. You're going to see the message where, you know, where Mariah leaves and she says, or not Mariah, but Brazy, as they called her, text and DMs Ryan and Blaylock and says, you know, they know about Ryan, but don't know about you, and allude to Mariah snitching on them. That snitching comes up repeatedly. This is the projectile that was in Jamari Holmes' head that was fired from weapons that Rodelius Ryan and Damon Blaylock shot while they were hanging out with females in Cleveland Avenue. It came to 50 Mount Zion. And then I want to ask you, this is that message. All again, talking about snitching, trying to not get caught. Now, how do you know why Ryan did it? What does Ryan think about this murder? What is he remorseful? Is he sad? Well, here's him that same day at 5 o'clock. So that's the 911 call at 4 in the morning, not 4 in the afternoon, February 23rd, 2019. Bet YSL makes the news FaceTime. You've heard repeatedly about the FaceTime. I argue to you when he said Bet YSL makes the news, Fox 5. So he's telling people without, you know, having some plausible deniability of no one's going to know what I'm talking about, YSL makes the news. Now, what does he do 5 hours after this? Let's find out.
Block life knowing again. 250 knowing again. Bitch, I push nigga can't come up here and then block. Yeah, no cap. Kill a riot, gonna shoot at your fitted. That's no cap.
He's gonna shoot at your fitted, and that's the fitted cap that Jamari Holmes wore on his head when he was murdered. That is bragging about the murder. YSL makes the news, and then he's on the quote unquote block, right? And he's throwing up YSL. Is it a coincidence that this guy he's with says Little Rod will shoot at your, don't come on this block? And you have Bernard, Mitch, and all of them who weren't from that neighborhood come over to 50 Mount Zion. He will shoot at your fitted cap. And there's a literal fitted cap from Jamari Holmes' head with a bullet hole in it. And that's his skull with a bullet hole in it. This ain't, murder gang isn't some facade. This isn't for clout. This is real life. And this is the bragging and the boasting above the law and proving that they're doing it for the street gang. They're telling you. Nothing I've said so far with these two murders is anything but their own words. March 14th, 2022, Shamel drinks. I think it's amply clear that this murder is gang related. It's to further YSL. You've heard about the Nibin matches, the double homicide of Christian McMiller and Darius Ford. You heard op hunting, all of the way that Garlington and Shannon talked about getting revenge. And what happens? They see an op at a gas station and 4 YSL members in a rented vehicle murder. And Shannon Stillwell's involved in both. And it's eerily similar to Donovan Thomas's murder. This is the corridor right there, and that is Shamel Drink's vehicle with bullet holes on the same side of his car that Shannon Stillwell's Audi drove up in. It's not rocket science that he did it. The evidence has shown you he did. And it's 100% gang related. They're both part of the same rival group. There's no evidence about any kind of disagreement or anything with Shamel Drinks. They did it for YSL. They did it to get revenge. And this is just a visual representation where Shannon Stillwell is publicly stating, check the score. Because again, shooting and murder is like a scoreboard, but this ain't a sports game. This is the Superior Court of Fulton County, and you can't go shoot people for sport or murder your rivals to up the score. That ain't how it works. That's the Mekion Garlington. There's the Ford Fusion with Miles Farley and with Quamavius Nichols. Now, aggravated assault. We've heard a lot about aggravated assaults. And in a case like this, you can kind of get numb to the shell casings collected, the damage, but these are acts of racketeering, real guns shooting real bullets towards property or people. What do YSL members say about shooting? Well, let's ask.
Y'all know we gonna tour. You better keep on this. Don't come to no club. Don't come outside. Don't do shit. Stay your ass in your mama house. Don't cook there. Be your mama basement. Making beats and shit. Bring your ass out the house. Hey, look, don't come outside. You niggas soft as fuck.
That's their word. Shoot the ops, make them catch on. That's Rodelius Ryan's Instagram that came in when Mr. Howes was sitting right here. And then this is Rodelius Ryan with a drum a YSL chain publicly showing it. These public threats of violence, when you're murdering people and throwing up YSL and bragging about it, that has a real effect of people who want to come in and testify, or people that ever want to tell the police, period. These aren't just, a facade. This isn't just a movie. This is real life. And they're showing you and telling you what they're about. So I say take them at their word for it. April 12th, 2015, Dexter Montgomery. This is important because when you boil it down from what D'Angelo White told 911 and the police that you heard, they were just driving. And it seemed like OG Bentley thought that they were following them. They get to the gas station. There's no real reason for this to escalate to where it did. And when they leave the gas station, from Walter Murphy's evidence, Nard and Walter Murphy come. It's one YSL member, OG Bentley. Maybe he was paranoid. Maybe someone was out to get him. But it wasn't D'Angelo White. It was not Dexter Montgomery. And this is their car when it stopped after the shooting, at that stoplight. Cornelius Davis and Christian James. And that's the bullet that comes in through that car. And that's Dexter Montgomery with half of his head shot off because they followed a YSL member to a gas station. That's it. One call, Walter Murphy and Demise McMullen, they didn't say, where do I sign the criminal enterprise contract? This agreement I talked about, Slat, handle that. They just go. They grab the sticks and went.
My name's D'Angelo.
And D'Angelo, tell me exactly what happened.
Now, we was at the gas station.
This is Demise McMullen, who they say hard Nard, the same person that Condarius Zachary and Copeland said was shooting at Donovan Thomas. This is 3 months later. It's a lot more likely that he's a shooter when you see him on camera with a long gun at a gas station for no reason because OG Bentley called him. Their same common associates with no questions come. That's an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Lil Wayne tour bus, April 26, 2015. You heard a lot of evidence about Lil Wayne. What you didn't hear was any remote personal reason that Jimmy Winfrey would have any, even knew or had any kind of squabble with Dwayne Carter, Lil Wayne. So why did he shoot the bus? You heard about the public back and forth, and look at the actions before, during, and after of that shooting. Now, this is only a couple weeks after Dexter Montgomery. And it's 2 days before the shooting spree of Adele Drive and Drew Drive that Garlington, Zachary, and Sledge did. So all these shootings, when Gaither and Dennis come in and talk about shooting after shooting, they're not just making this stuff up. It's real. So this is Mr. Alvin Lewis's tour bus shot up. This is Jimmy Winfrey. You heard from Detective Dennis about visually seeing them, and Zachary kind of got spooked because he knew his social security number, which would probably spook out Zachary of like, how does this gang detective know me like that? And then you have this post, which is Overt Act 121, I'm free, death before dishonor. Quite similar to the tattoo that Shannon Stillwell has, YSL. And what does he say about it? And by he, I mean Jimmy Winfrey.
Yeah, so the thing ain't too. And then another thing, we should let Amina know they got paperwork up in black and white showing, that I work for the company. Now it's gonna look like street business.
Get Amina to get the paperwork to put it in black and white, because if not, it's gonna look like street business. Because it is street business. They just don't want you to know. That's that deception piece. They don't want jurors to know. They don't want the police to know. So get it in paperwork so we can make it look legit. There's nothing legit about shooting a tour bus driver's car on a highway. There's none. This is the phone records. They move as a pack. They move as one. This is before, where Zachary, Winfrey, Sledge, McMullen, Greer, and Dolly are all in the general area of the vault. This is when it's about to come up is the compound, which is a little bit later. Zachary, Winfrey, McMullen, Greer, and Dolly, 142 to 304. They all have kind of similar times when they leave, similar times when they depart. And then the last slide is going to be Dolly and Jimmy Winfrey's phone records for when the shooting happened. And you can see the path of travel, and Winfrey's in black and Dolly's in orange, and you know, the white Camaro that he hid and made the jail call to not get it found. And then, you know, he comes out and then it's YSL, you know, death before dishonor. Jimmy Winfrey quite likely did not act alone. How do you drive a white Camaro going 80 down the highway and shoot that many times in a bus? Just think about it. It's common sense. They act as one, as you've seen. This is 2 days later. 3 other completely different YSL members, but all part of the same criminal street gang. Garlington, Zachary, and Sledge. Garlington gets jumped at Club Crucial. What do? They go on a shooting spree. First, they go shoot up 1428. Then they go shoot up 1903 Drew Drive. You know, back to back to back. This is Miss Bell. And when you talk about, you know, credibility of witnesses, you don't believe Miss Bell's testimony because you like her. Everybody wants to drink a glass of vodka with Miss Bell. She was a sweet lady. You believe it because what motive does she have to come in here and sit and say that her house was shot up other than that it did? What motive does she have? What bias does she have? She's a good example. She's just in her bed trying to drink a nightcap and just hang out. And what happens? They shoot at her because they think that, you know, her nephew or someone in YFN is there. That's not how it works in Fulton County. You don't just go shoot people's houses up because your op's there. But again, they're above the law. This is the timeline, 220 to 406 to 551. This is Zachary with what looks like an AK-47 and Demekion Garlington and their Sledge wiping his nose. Just like, if you remember, he wiped his nose when he walked off that witness stand at y'all. So these are the things that they're telling you, and you're going to see photographs from these. First, it's going to be the Club Crucial shootings. You know, when they post about guns, when they talk about guns, and then they tell you that they committed the crimes, it's not rocket science. You know, take them at their word, what the evidence has shown. These kind of retaliation is, again, Demekion's jumped. We got to protect him. It's a us, it's a we, it's an enterprise, right? And they act together because you have strength in numbers, you know, protection and shootings. But this was a fist fight. Now, it was a shooting in the parking lot. And then they go to other homes, travel intentionally down there and shoot. Again, they're moving together in concert. As you saw from the Donovan Thomas phone records, the Shamel Drinks phone records, the Little Wayne phone records. We didn't put in phone records of this, but I think it's quite clear who did it and why they did it from the testimony of Zachary and Sledge and what we impeached them on. 34 shell casings. Drew Drive, roughly 2 hours later, right? This is where Miss Battle's apartment was, and it's just an apartment right by the street. All these shell casings in the middle of the street, refrigerators and ovens shot. All because someone jumped Demekion, and so they go, no questions asked. Again, they don't have to sign on the dotted line. They have agreement, they have knowledge, they act in concert, and the criminal objective is to help the street gang, which is go get revenge. That's the RICO in action. So if you're asked, well, did Kendrick and Stillwell agree to be a part of a group that would commit racketeering activity? Did they agree to participate knowingly and willingly? And you have all these shootings, and you say, did they think that was it reasonably foreseeable, understanding when they joined that multiple shootings would go on with YSL? You bet there is. You've seen it, right? They don't back up. They don't quit. They keep hanging out, shooting, and associating and publicly bragging about YSL over and over. This is roughly a month minus 7 days from when this shooting spree happened that these two, Garlington and Zachary, do. They can mess with us if they want. We're going to bring them homicide. Take their word for it, because an aggravated assault could be a murder. It just missed. So they're shooting. They're telling you I am. And then they want to act like, oh, I'm just kidding. It's obviously not a joke. It's not a facade. It's very real. Conspiracy to commit murder, which is Diamante Kendrick and Martinez Arnold, same neighborhood, Summerhill area, Confederate area. They have a stolen handgun and a long gun, and they're riding yet again after a fight. And this time it's not a nightclub, it's a strip club, Magic City. And you heard that brief snippet of a jail call where Kendrick's talking about it and talking about how Duke just called him, right? So again, little questions, little actions, just driving and get stopped in the same area of town where Kelvin Watts and Miss Bennett and YFN Lucci and YFN, all of that area of town. It's not a coincidence. It's the same victim, same area. This red circle is going to be the stolen firearm. That's the long gun. This is Overt Act 111. 5 years later, you have the same two individuals in a slime t-shirt with Martinez Arnold. Again, they're still hanging, associating. And then on the May 9th, 2022 stop, Martinez Arnold and Kendricks are at that house that has all of those firearms and the marijuana out in the open. Nothing's changed except time. Public displays of allegiance. This is the photograph that I believe Investigator Griffin, who was the lead detective on T.R. Jones' murder, introduced. Does that apartment complex look quite familiar to the steps of Miss Bennett's? Because it's 988 Confederate Court, that Confederate Court area. ABG territory, which is, and that's Kelvin Watts, right? And this is where they were headed. And obviously in 2022, they're still trying to shoot and kill, shell kill Kelvin Watts. You see how over time, it's the same acts. That's conspiracy. It's just right before you. Now, objective 4. Remember how I said at the beginning, sometimes those stolen firearms or the robberies can play up multiple ways? This is a good example of it. Money, weapons, and other property through acts of racketeering activity. So those robberies and thefts, you could find them as they conspired to violate B, to participate in the enterprise, or A, they conspired knowing that they could acquire and get property a lot easier. Either one. The evidence can sometimes fit multiple. And you have the unlawful sale and distribution of drugs. Now, I'm not going to walk through all of the drugs we introduced or firearms or items. I'm just giving you a snapshot. That criminal objective has multiple. I think I would focus on the areas of where they are if there's other people with them. And I think this might have skipped through faster than I anticipated. This is obviously the May 9th, 2022, which is Jeffrey Williams' home. I'm going to go back one. And while that's coming up, I may get some help and put up one of these easels that we'll talk about. Yes, thank you. This just has agreement, enterprise, and pattern. This agreement to be a part of the enterprise, a pattern, and they all flow together, right? So evidence that they agreed, they go and shoot rivals together. We go and shoot the same rivals with the same people together. Evidence for agreement, evidence for pattern. Does the YSL enterprise exist? Is it a loosely formed group of individuals for a same common criminal purpose? All of these three kind of feed together. So this triangle is just a visual way to help think through this. Okay, well, it's catching up with me. And I apologize for this, but what's gonna come up next, this is the Green Store, right? This is a picture of Kenneth Copeland and Shannon Stillwell. You have August 23, 2013, where one of the first witnesses, Sergeant Heeb, H-E-E-B, he was with an officer, Viverito. Sound familiar? 50 individual packets of clear marijuana. And this area of town is not far from where the Windsor Street gas station is in 2022, where Shamel Drinks was last seen alive before that stoplight. This is Trontavious Stevens' possession of marijuana after a traffic stop where he was with Stillwell. You've seen kind of over the years, multiple, sometimes at around 151 Cleveland, drugs. You've heard about the May 9th, 2022, all of the drugs that were found in that house. This is just a snapshot. These are some overt acts that you could use for this criminal objective of unlawful distribution of drugs. So I just include this as a tip. I'm not going to walk through every one. Act 48, 2015. Act 49, 2015. Act 65, 2017. 2020, it spans 7 years BB, Nichols, Stevens, right? You've heard and seen pictures of them, identifiers of YSL over time in similar areas dealing drugs. That's another benefit or perk or objective of being in this kind of group, because no one's going to want to mess with you when you're going around shooting people and saying, I'm going to shoot. It helps you to unlawfully distribute drugs a lot easier in certain areas. Now, objective 5 is obstructing law enforcement, right? So you've heard about this in multiple ways. This is intimidation of witnesses, because that helps the enterprise, because then you can't get caught. Maybe you can fool or deceive a juror, a detective. A pattern repeatedly publicly saying you'll lie to all your family and friends and then come in here and tell the truth, basically saying, hint, hint, why can't you lie in court? And you need to get killed. And then agreement where all of them benefit and know and participate in this. So what evidence do we have of attacks on law enforcement? Well, one of the first acts you saw was Trontavia Stevens, where you heard from the vehicle that was stolen and Officer Pettis, and there was that firearm and that yellow bucket where he tried to go and arrest Stevens, who has this slime tattoo on his body. And then he brandished a handgun, pointing it at the firearm. Intimidation. Now, that officer was undercover, right? But he's trying to stop him and apprehend him. And he's just basically, I'm above the law, right? The same message that Shannon Stillwell's saying in present day. They don't think they could be held accountable. Police can't stop me. Now, we've talked about the armed robbery of Derek Dotson, but this also proves this objective, and I'll show you why. That's former and present. That's the
DK, little nigga DK shot at 12, nigga. Yeah, he said it. For no reason, boy.
For no reason.
He's shooting for no reason.
He's shooting at 12, the police, for no reason.
Shooting at 12. Yeah, that nigga just up, boy, for no reason, Carter.
That's Adrian Bean's words, right? And then
he got it on him. And he got the screen up on him. Bloody DK.
Bloody DK, and I got the strap on me, and he throws up Rock Crew at the time. And he's just shooting at 12 for no reason. Another attack on law enforcement that, again, you don't want to get caught. You just tried to rob Derek Dotson, so you don't want to get apprehended by the police. Officer Rogers. You're going to hear what people say before and after some of this and their viewpoint on law enforcement.
Down, I'm better take on down. Nigga, hey, to that slime shit. Hey, YSL shit. Hey, killing 12 shit. Hey, fuck up jail shit. Hey, drink it at the bitch.
This is that killing 12 shit. And that's Christian Eppinger in the Cleveland Avenue area shooting Officer Rogers. That's not just words. That's a mentality of, again, slimes are above the law. And it's a public message of that. I can't think of a more clear, raw example of that than this. Don't just believe what they say, believe what they do. And he's just trying to arrest him for a warrant. And what does Rodelius Ryan say after this happens? If you look at his TV screen, you're going to see Officer Rogers' photo pop up. And this is the message he has for his fellow YSL gang member after he just tried to attempt to murder Officer Rogers for doing his job.
Yeah, man, free my nigga Big Brish, man.
There's Officer Rogers.
Yeah, man, last chain gang. Fuck that boy. Fuck that boy. Spank that baby. Yeah, man. Free my nigga Big Brish, man. Fuck the DA. And we catching the fun on this shit. Yeah, and we about to catch that fun, fuck nigga. We coming to get you. You know what it is. Yes, sir. It's in the hood right here, gang. Free the gang.
That's in the hood.
Yeah, YSL shit.
YSL shit.
Yeah.
Just like the song said, YSL shit, killing 12 shit. This is Ryan bragging and boasting about his fellow gang member trying to shoot Officer Rogers. And then he says slap, right? This shows you how they view the enterprise.
Yeah, man, free my nigga Big Brish, man, by the way. The gang way. Big Brish with the big head, man. They gave my nigga a bun today, man. You hear me?
Over at Act 180.
This nigga lie to your kids.
You know, so Ryan's words there are kind of telling, right? Because he views what Eppinger did on the one hand by himself as a collective, we, us, he's with me, and he's saying YSL and SLAT because it boosts your street cred. Quite frankly, it boosts your street cred to shoot at the police. And that furthers your gang because you get more of a reputation. And that's what you've heard from the gang detectives and seen why Ryan would have this positive reaction and collective us to Eppinger doing that. It wasn't just Eppinger alone. It's a we, it's a us. And any overt act done to further the conspiracy is held against everyone, to include these defendants. Because when you knowingly and willfully join a criminal enterprise, you got to buy the good, bad, and the ugly. Now, we've talked about intimidating witnesses. I started with that video of Jeffrey Williams. What's Antonio Sledge's position
You
on
can lie to your kids, you lie to your mama, but you get in the courtroom and in the investigation room and tell them punk-ass people the God-honest motherfucking truth. Pussy ass.
And that's Antonio Sledge as a witness, right? So you realize what people say outside of court. Think about that Antonio Sledge and that. And it, how people are in the witness stand, right, is quite different. But you don't want to get caught. You don't want people to come in here and tell them. It's as clear as that. Miss Bennett, Antonio Sumlin, Quindarius Zachary, Walter Murphy, Kenneth Copeland, about to be Adrian Bean up here, Wooney Lee. You saw their reactions, the awkward pauses, the kind of contemplation of, man, what am I going to say here? Or some bad piece of wiretap or jail call that gets played that doesn't sound good. Trontavia Stevens and Adrian Bean. This is alluding to, you heard from Mariah Smith about the threats for her testifying in the murder of Jamari Holmes trial and coming to court. And this is a brain and a rat emoji. She got threats for talking to law enforcement. Again, you don't want people to come forward because it helps Rodelius Ryan not get caught. It helps the criminal enterprise stay abreast. That's an overt action furtherance of conspiracy. What's a pattern of racketeering? So all of these crimes, these aggravated assaults, these murders, it's not, they actually did a pattern, but the conspiracy is, did they knowingly and willfully conspire to join YSL knowing that that could be a possibility? I think it's ludicrous to say otherwise, right? They knew exactly what they signed up for when they tattooed YSL on their body and shot people for YSL. And it can be from anyone. Within 4 years of each other, they're not in it for the long haul. You don't tattoo your face if you're just in something for a couple weeks. It's a permanent thing. And you've seen evidence in present day and evidence in the past that's shown that allegiance. And that's where this agreement, pattern, and enterprise all play together. You have agreement for the enterprise. There's a pattern of racketeering activity, shootings, murders, robberies that feed and promote the enterprise. That's RICO conspiracy. And it can be by any co-conspirator, but you certainly have overt acts from both of them. What is interrelated? This is key, right? What makes a pattern of racketeering interrelated? Same victims, same accomplices, same or similar intents, results, or methods of commission. With what we've talked about so far, you've seen a repeated pattern. The same opposition group moving together, the same individuals committing it over and over. All of these interrelated, they're not just interrelated, it's like a yarn of, it's like a ball of yarn that's just so intertwined, tight, you can't get out of it. It's like they're all related. And I'm going to show you some examples of that will cut through time and cut through RICO conspirators, and you'll see patterns and connections that can be hard to miss with all of this evidence. So let's focus on some distinguishing characteristics. So what's the best evidence that someone violated conspiracy to violate RICO? Is they actually did it. That's, if you want to figure out if someone wants to conspire to rob a bank and they go rob 20 banks, well, they probably agreed to do that bank robbery. It's as simple as that. So let's look at what they did. Let's look at what they said and look at how it's related. Same victims, same accomplices. So I'm going to show you some examples that are going to mirror together exhibits from different parts of the trial. Actions speak louder than words. They just do. It's like what your grandparents say, or dad or mom, don't do what I say, do what I do. So believe them. Let's see what they do and how they do it and why it's interrelated. So we're going to see some patterns. They move as a pack, right? what's going to come up is the cell phone records from OG Bentley's house, or the spot on Oak Drive where you heard testimony about. This is after the murder of Donovan Thomas. This is both what Copeland and Zachary say that they all went to get rid of the gun and to get rid of the car, because they don't want murder weapons to get caught with it, obviously. So the same individual who called Walter Murphy and Demise McMullen 3 months later when they pull up with a stick, you don't think that Demise McMullen killed Donovan Thomas with Shannon Stillwell, Kendrick driving, and Justin Cobb, and then would go to his friend OG Bentley? Of course he would. And where do they go? I mean, 755, 750. This is McMullen and Williams. That's OG Bentley's house. 5 minutes of each other. They go from up north where Sky House is to down there. Let's look at the next slide. Bradford, 747, OG Bentley's house. You need a common place to take guns and cars. It's not a coincidence they all just woke up and decided to go, have a pizza party at OG Bentley's, within 30 minutes of the murder of Donovan Thomas in a car rented by Jeffrey Williams. That's not a coincidence. And that Copeland and Zachary just guessed randomly of where they traveled. They knew. Let's look at Treadwell, right? He's all over this Oak Drive address because that's where his house was. Now, fast forward, this is Shamel Drinks. Where do they go after the murder of Shamel Drinks? This is Farley, Garlington, and Jackson. The times are a little different, but the general direction of travel is to, look, here's the airport, there's the airport, there's the airport, there's 70. They go to the same location after a murder for a variety of reasons. Maybe to get their story straight, maybe to all have a common place to go to get away from when you just commit a murder. This is 2022. That was 2015. That's a pattern. I can't think of a more clear example of one. Now, common places to stash and store. You've heard about the web. You've seen more recently Waters Road, and you used to hear reference about the dugout, but the web and Waters Road come up frequently. What were some similarities between them? There are places where they can store their guns and can frequently go where no one's going to catch them or bother them. This is Trontavious Stevens. This is Antonio Sumlin. He has the slime tattoo on his body, and Sumlin has YSL here and multiple king slime on his forearm. This is the web. There's that YSL. There's the surveillance video right there. Looked kind of similar to Waters Road. Completely different locations. This is from the Instagram where one slug, I'm going to the web. And then there was this wiretap.
We back at the web. What, slug on spot? Yeah, we got that spot now. We ain't slug spot though.
We're back at the web. It's not slug spot. It's now my spot. They exchange guns. They exchange locations to help the gang. It's quite simply that, right? They need a spot to be able to hang out and lay low. Fast forward to present time, we're about to talk about and see Waters Road, and you saw the phone records both in March, the ankle monitor, it was 3,000 something times per minute that defendant Stillwell was at that 2830 Waters Road. It's not a coincidence, right? You just saw that surveillance at the web. Yes, you can have surveillance system in your home, but with the evidence of guns, and let's go to the web, Waters Road, with all of the assault rifles and bullets that were there, that's the surveillance on the 16th. That's the cables removed on the 17th. Same address, Waters Road. It moves and talks and walks very similar to the web. Different locations, YSL members to help the enterprise. They all agree to be a part of it, from the tattoos and the shootings and the actions, and there's a pattern. There's a clear pattern. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out this pattern. Same or similar intents and accomplices. So follow me with this. So Donovan Thomas, murdered January 10th, 2015 by YSL. Wyatt Lucci, whose mother's house is shot on the 22nd of January and the 26th of January, 2015. And then what do they say? What do they do? What are their methods of attacking or harming a rival? Well, that's the 22nd, 1007 Hill Street. And then the 26th, that is, a window, a mirror window in the home. Is it a coincidence he shoots that? Not. I shoot at his mommy. He no longer mentions me. Maybe it is. Maybe it's just a coincidence. But then when you see the text messages, right, between Huey and Thug, go handle that, Slatty, it kind of takes on a little different feel to it. All right. So keep going. What other actions do YSL members have with? And if you remember, right, the gun that Zachary had that he was arrested with got tied to those shootings. So this is where guns change. Multiple conspirators work together in concert. This is a tweet or an Instagram from Jeffrey Williams. If I didn't like what you did for your mothers and kids, I would have been killed you. That's 2019. And then you have in 2020, coincidentally, Kendrick with slat and a stake on him standing on the same Mr. Bennett's car, right? A clear sign of disrespect with a middle finger. And then fast forward, it's not just funny tweets or funny songs or funny cars, right? Let's keep going with this. Same victim, same YSL members throughout all of this. There's the flyer we talked about, right? There's the tweet, go handle it. You saw examples. You saw another example of that when Viv Rito was on the stand. Now, not only do they shoot at his mother's house, murder his friends, tweet at him, disrespect his car, then they try to stab him and actually do stab him in the jail, but they try to kill him is what I meant to say. And you saw the text messages about that. So let's walk through that, right? This is spanning from 2015 to 2022. Agreement, enterprise, pattern. This is when Jaden Myrick stabbing YFN Lucci in the jail. That's YFN Lucci. He's actually stabbed, right? This isn't just some fake violence. Then, this is Shan Stillwell that same day.
They got me on PC with the boys. Oh, there's on PC.
And this is Eppinger and Summer.
Yeah, hey, find out what I can get for that, bro. Huh? Man, find out what I can get for that, bro. Guess what? You know what I'm talking about. I know what you can get for. I just told you why I'm at.
Remember that?
Okay, so what you need me to do? Find out what I can get, man. I just told you who I'm in the going with. What you going with? Lucci, nigga.
It's unspoken agreement, right? Why is someone Eppinger, Kendrick, Zachary have a gun, Shannon tweeting just wet, Lucci's, you know what, ASS up? Not a coincidence. Not a coincidence. Same victims, that's a pattern. I can't think of a more clear pattern. Now let's take this a little bit further. Christian Evans, right? The same one who robbed Terry Hill with a YSL on his face is calling someone who has YSL tattooed permanently on his body and is talking about going to stab Lucci and get permission, right? So these same co-conspirators just work together over time. It's going to come along. What we're going to show, see, there's some, right? Can't spell slime without me the biggest. Publicly, full allegiance. Did they knowingly and willfully agree to be part of YSL? What do they say? What do they do, right? It's as simple as that. That is how you can know the evidence showing that. All right. Now, what's the common denominator with Kelvin Watts? This is Zachary and Sledge. There's Kelvin Watts, Shell Kale, and Donovan Thomas, right? You just saw a picture of Donovan Thomas and Mr. Bennett. And you saw the actions that the YSL criminal street gang did and talks about him. So here's yet another friend in a public picture of Donovan Thomas, Kelvin Watts. What are their viewpoints on him? This is Zachary and Sledge publicly threatening him in 2015.
You little strip ass nigga.
We ain't really going back and forth, no nigga.
You little bitch ass nigga.
I know what we hit.
I'm everywhere. Yeah, fuck you, nigga, Cal. Whoever else, nigga. Well, nigga. Pop, pop, pop. Nigga. Whoa.
They said I ain't really going back.
I'll just use a okay. Can you hear me now? Just was too low.
Can y'all hear me? Hold on, I have something else on. I don't know what was that. Okay. So, okay. So, I just pinned it, but the state will have 2.5 hours. It's an open close. And then the defense will each get 2 hours. And then the state will come back and do another 2.5 hours at the end. They'll use it as like a rebuttal, right? To like, it's almost like a cross, right? Think of it as like cross, where they'll get to rebut essentially what the defense kind of says. So it's going to be a long day. They're supposed to go to 7 p.m. tonight because they agreed that they wanted to try to get them started on deliberations prior to Thanksgiving. So that is why it's going to be a long day today to get through all the closings. Tomorrow they will do, Whitaker will do the instructions and the charge, and then they'll begin to, because tomorrow, I think they're starting late. It's not a full day tomorrow. So she'll do the charge and instructions, and then Wednesday will be deliberations, first day. Also, yes, they are matching. In the beginning of the trial, they used to match a lot. They used to like have colors, the state would. They've done green. I think they've done red before. So yes, they are now back to their matching, which is again what they used to do. I am not, the state is blooded up today. I am like, I am interested to hear Hilton get up because I think he said she's going to go through the murders specifically. So I'm curious to hear how they do that. But I don't know. If I didn't do my own research, I just don't know if I would be following him completely. There was something I wanted to go back to. There's 2 ways to violate the RICO Act. And I think the first way is harder because it has like to do with that money. And I think that they've all said that they're broke essentially, except Thug, who I think has been proven to get his money through music. So I think they're going to struggle to get them to convict on part A. But I think part B is what they are driving in on. But I don't know if he's making it clear. Yeah, we're just on a break. Sorry, somebody else said that. We are just on a break. They would seem like they were trying to fix the mic. And so Whitaker was just like, anybody got to use the bathroom. So they're just taking a break. I assume they're going to fix well, we'll see. We know how these mics go. Fix the mic and then come back. But what I am trying to key in on, for one reason, I'm trying to make sure that my understanding and the research I did, there's like my head, to make sure the research I did is matching, and it seems like it is. So that part B, they have to prove that the defendants knowingly and willingly entered into the conspiracy, entered into YSL, okay? And they have to enter into YSL. So Shannon and Yak, did they enter into YSL knowing that YSL was going to commit a pattern of racketeering activity, okay? So he was saying, you see these tattoos, that shows that they entered into it knowing that they were going to commit the pattern of racketeering activity. That felt like a stretch. And just to be clear, pattern of racketeering activity includes like murder, includes trafficking drugs, includes aggravated assault, includes like there are threat of violence. There are like crimes that are a pattern of racketeering activity. So essentially they have to say that these defendants entered into YSL knowing that YSL was going to commit murder or aggravated assault or whatever. They have to prove that. And then, right, those pattern of racketeering activities have to have taken place 5 years back within the last 5 years of when the case was indicted. So that's why they keep mentioning that May 10th, 2017. That's the deadline. And so even though Nut is a part of this, it's also a separate charge, but like they aren't able to say that killing Nut is one of the patterns of racketeering activities, specifically because it happened in 2015. So it's just too far away. So the Nut charge will have to stand alone as a charge and not necessarily a part of the RICO, because it just happened too far away. Has to have been within 5 years. Shamel drinks, that one happened obviously sooner or closer to time now, so that one can be included. So anyway, I think that that's interesting because there's obviously, so again, and it has to be two crimes, or that two things that are a pattern of racketeering activity that are interrelated, right? And so if in the last 5 years the jury finds that they killed Shamel Drinks and they also stabbed Lucci, right? Those two things would be considered a pattern of racketeering activity. And the thing that makes them interrelated is that it was the same YSL members, or it was against the same opposition, the same YFN people, and it was done with the same accomplices. It had the same intent. That's what makes them interrelated. And so that's what they would have to answer, basically. Did these two people enter into this conspiracy, enter into YSL, and then did YSL within the last 5 years commit at least two patterns of racketeering activity? And is there an overt act that was committed within the last 5 years? So it seems like all of that would have to, those are their check boxes. I just I don't know. Knowing that that is what the jurors have to decide, I still think the state is, for me, right? The closing arguments is like it's usually used to like put a pretty bow on stuff, right? Like, because you get so much leeway, it's not evidence, right? And so this is your time to paint your story, to pull your theory together, make it make sense. And I just always feel like the state struggles to tell their stories. Like, I'm looking for the thread. And I just struggle so much when the state does their stuff, because I'm always looking for a make it make sense for me. So two things make it a pattern. If it was one, the thing that makes it a pattern of racketeering activity just means it has to happen more than once. And so that's why it's twice, right? That makes it not a coincidence, not an individual thing. It's now a pattern because it's happened twice. I think my baby is awake. So if you hear her singing, she just woke up. I'm not saying they're doing terrible. I wouldn't give him an F. Okay. But I still, I'm like, I always just wait in closings, like, take me on the journey. And I just feel like they always struggle to take me on the journey. I'm like, wait, what? And usually using a PowerPoint in opens and closings are not uncommon. Like, the trials I've watched, people, it's not uncommon for that to happen. It helps you pull your story together, and it usually helps you go through the journey. And I just am like, ooh, so in some parts, I'm like, okay, this is working for them with this PowerPoint. Like, I get it. But the overall picture, I just think it's a large case. It's just so, I mean, they're going 10 plus years back. And so if you gonna do that, you better make sure you take me through. And I think it's just too big. And I think the reality is, I think they're trying to make stuff fit that doesn't fit. And that's why they can't tell a complete narrative. If you actually focus on the stuff that does fit with your case, you're going to be able to tell a story. But when you start trying to pull in everything, it feels like a junk drawer. It feels like, bro, what? So that was related to how, and here's the thing for me, I'm just yapping. I hope y'all are caring. Oh, let me turn the audio back up. For me, the thing that I am always like, ooh, that's iffy. When you start talking about stuff that doesn't really fit in your puzzle and you're trying to force it to fit, right? Imagine you have a puzzle with all the pieces that actually fit, and then you're trying to force a piece that doesn't. It's going to start making all the other pieces shift. And that's what's happening for me.
As soon as possible, since we got a late start this morning. Can y'all move that a little bit, because that's kind of blocking the.
Let me just say my quick thing. It starts making the pieces that actually fit shift. And now everything feels like, oh, well, does that even really matter? Does that really matter? And that's what I think is happening. They're putting in too many puzzle pieces that don't fit. And now the whole puzzle is looking crazy. And all the pieces that do fit look like they don't, because y'all are making stuff in here that it don't matter. That's
not going to work. Put it way over there, maybe. I mean, that's fine, but that works. Sorry.
That's all right, though. Thank you.
I don't know who designs courtrooms, but I don't think they ask anybody who uses courtrooms. Jury ready? All right. They do, yes. Now we have 3 podiums, so.
The state all dressed alike today, Roxanne. When they start, I'm gonna be back because I got to get my baby. She's here with me. I'm on trial and mommy duty.
You can roll the screen over this way some, maybe, if you want them to be able to see them both. I don't know. Now it's not the time. Let's do that at lunch. 30 more minutes or so. Thank you. I think that screen maybe stopped working halfway through. So the other one, either the one above or the one, I think the one below doesn't work, but the one above, they'll switch it up at lunch.
Sound like she's got another 30 minutes, so I assume we'll listen to Atkins for 30 more minutes and then maybe go to lunch and then defense.
Thank you. All right, I think y'all probably saw that your lunch is there. We've got about 30 more minutes of Mr. Atkins opening, and then we'll break for lunch, and then we'll come back and hear the defense closing. So, okay, all right, go ahead, Mr. Atkins.
So we just saw that video, right, in 2015, and here we have the same picture, right? Kelvin Watts, Nut Life times 2, because you have Shamel Drinks, Kelvin Watts in this post. And that is the projectile that murdered Shamel Drinks and the projectile that murdered Donovan Thomas. Same victims, right? You had Donovan Thomas with Lucci, and you saw how they treated Lucci. Now Donovan Thomas with Kelvin Watts, and you saw the connection. Similar victims over time with different YSL co-conspirators committing the crimes, often together. Not always the same, but similar patterns, which is important for RICO. Now, other connection. You heard about, and we got to take Buddy's name out of the song in case she gets whacked.
I fuck around and get whacked. You know that shit come down on us. Yeah.
Because it's going to come down on us. This lets you know that they try to toe the line to get right to where they can diss an op or say something, but have some deniability. And then this is song. That's Garland. Get shell whacked. It doesn't, yes, it's just a song, but when you're shooting and continuing to promote violence on the same people, that creates a pattern. And that was Danikion Garlington and DeMarco Boyer, who was those phone calls you heard about the night of Shamel Drinks' murder. So what other connections do we have? Well, if you keep going, we talked about this drug sale, right? This is Durante Beebe. Who was with him? Darius Ford, right? This is back in 2020 at, I believe, 151 Cleveland. There's Darius Ford. Now you have, I should come up here. This is Rodelius Ryan and Durante Beebe, right? So remember this. Ford, Beebe, Ryan, it's like a 6 degrees of separation through different crimes. So follow me here. This is Darius Ford and Rodelius Ryan.
We right back run through this shit. Yeah, fuck wrong with y'all, nigga. We right back run through this shit. This is what fuck wrong with y'all. Yeah, peace and blessings. Gang, peace and blessings like shit. Peace and blessings.
This is Rodelius Ryan saying FYFN. Then you have Garlington, right? We got y'all boys. Ryan, Ford. This is Darius Ford. That's Christian Miller that Garlington's posting, right? It's the YSL enterprise and how they view each other. And if you exact violence on one of them, they're all going to try, or if you get a rival or an op, it's for the gang. It's for the enterprise. And then if we keep going with this, this is 05 Drive and Slim. This is Christian McMiller with Rodelius Ryan at Slime Business Rod, right? And he puts the heart emoji in the snake. Then you have Shannon Stillwell and Darius Ford, right? And then you have Garlington talking about spinning it every night.
When I smoke, you're not in my
playing a song where in the mix of shooting Shamel Drinks, right? So yes, it's a song, but it has a different context when you know what they do.
Barbecue, man. We spin.
This is from Ryan's Instagram, right? Slap. This is SB. What's up? Using Garlington's Instagram to Rodelius Ryan, right? There's connections between the co-conspirators, and it shows a pattern where they commit crimes together. It may just be Darius Ford and BB selling drugs, but then it also may be shooting up all of these homes or murdering people, and they work in concert together. Now, it has to have, what is an enterprise, right? In this case, it's the criminal street gang. It's got to have a common purpose. It has to have a common kind of ongoing nature. It doesn't have to be a formal like employee roster or something like that. It can be a loose or informal relationship amongst them. It's as simple as that. You've seen how the way that YSL, the common identifiers and the way that they act and speak in concert shows that they have, I would argue, more than a loose relationship with one another. In determining it, you can use the pattern to prove the enterprise. This is where the crimes themselves and how they're committed kind of help you. And is there an enterprise? Well, the way that they work in concert shows you that there is. And I misspelled. There's always one word in every slide, and I've checked this thing 20 times, so I apologize. Racketeering. I knew there'd be one. Okay. So, is this a RICO?
Right? Yeah, Uncle had wanted me to call you. The man got jumped on.
I know it. That's why I was telling y'all last time I told you. I say when Lamar leaves in classification, make sure y'all tell him to hit so a nigga know.
We called you soon. He got up there, but see what Uncle was trying to see. They were saying it was a mob nigga and 9 dude niggas jumped on, bro.
That's what we just heard the same thing too. That's why we trying to figure out who the fuck up there mob and folks jumped in with some YFN niggas on the shit.
Yeah, that what folk were trying to call you and see like who the hell that was.
So do it for Phil, right? Trying to get protection is with in the other car with Parmavius Nichols after the murder of Shamel Drinks. Talking about Unfunk, do it for Phil, the person who's hashtag top shotter, happy snake day at Slime Business Ride, is Miles Farley, the same person who's in the Ford Fusion with Parmavius Nichols when they're at the gas station and then pulls out behind Shamel Drinks, right? So you see this connection and support where when one goes in jail and someone tries to jump Farley, the gang gets protection and they may use an allied gang. That's a pattern, and it's to further the enterprise because you don't want to get caught or get harmed. So take it a step further. This is Christian Eppinger, YSL Brish. That's Unfunk he's posting. Here's Eppinger, Rooney Lee, and BB, right? Only the slimes all together. Now, when you have Unfunk, Garlington, Sumlin, so you have Eppinger in 2016 saying free Unfunk, right? Then in 2022, you have Christian Eppinger and Sumlin having that jail call to try to get Lucci. And then you have Unfunk and Garlington trying to get protection because YFN, the same group of Lucci, is trying to hurt Miles Farley. So there's connections between the acts. There's patterns in the interactions amongst each other. And if you take it a step further, then you have Rooney Lee with Shannon. You heard about No Slime Left Behind. Rooney Lee with Kendrick, actively promoting the gang. Yes, it may just be a photo, but when people think you murdered people, shot people, and got away with it, it has a different context to that. It has a much different context. What is Kenneth Copeland roughly 2 weeks before this indictment? How is he interacting, right? He comes up here like everything's in the past. This is Kenneth Copeland.
He heard somebody. Police been knock up 43, they got a 43-man indictment.
That what Font said?
That what Toon said.
I don't know. He ain't told me that.
Yeah, he said that what he heard, but you know, he probably just talking. Ain't no telling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think? What?
I had Jake out of what's the name of him?
What do you think? For what though?
He just said RICO, I guess.
RICO, I guess.
Yeah.
That's what he said. But I don't know how true it is. I told that shit, that stuff Instagram.
Better stay off Instagram. Yeah. Not like RICO.
Yeah.
What RICO? I'm not a criminal enterprise, right? They're casually Copeland, and it kind of makes you think when he's in this witness stand, like, I'm a changed man or I don't hang out with him anymore, right? This is him in April 23rd of 2022. If you look at the indictment date, it's May 9th, 2022. That's 2 weeks before that indictment. And he's calling Garlington, who he said told him about what happened, that all of these two defendants when they murdered Donovan Thomas. Think about that when you determine credibility in RICO. Taking it a step further, you have some.
No, listen, man. I just got.
Well, it's the call where he says he just got off the phone with Rudy and that YSL stuff is hot. You need to take that down, right? And then at the very end of that, and I won't play the whole thing, but it's in evidence, they say, we need to take that YSL because it's hot, get off social media, right? So that shows you that they know, they just don't want to get caught. This RICO conspiracy, this is your verdict form. When we talked about A and B, it's going to look like this: as to conspiracy to violate subsection A, we the defendant. A, acquire and maintain property, knowingly and willfully conspire. B is those objectives I talked about. Did you participate in the enterprise, knowing and understanding that a pattern of racketeering, which remember, check the indictment for the crimes. Do you think that they knew, when these two defendants from January 10, 2015 onward, that there would be robbery, aggravated assault, intimidating witnesses? I mean, of course they did. But think about that when you look through this, because you have to decide, is it A or is it B? I believe it's both, but you can find either as a jury when you deliberate. And remember, some evidence can factor into both. The robberies can be A. The stolen guns can be A. They also can be a part of B when you create a pattern. And then on the bottom, it's going to ask you about guilty. Please identify on the next page the overt acts you find. So when y'all agree unanimously on an overt act, and you got to find one after May 10th, 2017, the good news is there's plenty that the state has proven happened after that date, so they shouldn't be hard to find. You write them down. And if you need to write 50, write 50. If you need a pen, ask the court reporter. She'll come bring you an extra pen if y'all need to run out of ink. But fill it out on the form after this, once you all deliberate and talk through the evidence. And you will find them guilty of the RICO enterprise when you look at the evidence and the common sense, reasonable inferences from all of it and some of these connections. I just gave you a few. I could do this 6 degrees of separation with multiple crimes throughout the case, but I tried to pick a couple to show you. And participation in treating activity, this is much simpler. You know, the RICO enterprise and the criminal street gang is one in part the same. criminal street gang activity is there is a gang, YSL. Clearly the evidence has shown at this point that YSL is a criminal street gang, right? Are they a part of that street gang? Do they commit criminal street gang activity? For purposes of this indictment, the judge will instruct you that the street gang charges, the firearm possessed during the drugs for Kendrick and the murder of Shamel Drinks for Shannon Stillwell, both murder and possession of firearm during commission of a felony, which is the drugs, are criminal street gang activity. So all you really have to decide, in my mind, is there a nexus to the street gang? And I'm going to, this goes on to explain criminal street gang activity, which the judge will tell you that for these crimes, they are street gang activity. You just have to find Kendrick and Stillwell and the YSL street gang, which for all intents and purposes is the same as the criminal enterprise we've just been describing. And I'm going to, B is in order to maintain or increase status. So you'll see Shannon Stillwell has B. When he murdered Shamel Drinks, do you think that was in order to boost his YSL street cred and increase his status? Of course it was. He had no personal disagreement with Shamel Drinks. The only reason to murder him is because you saw all this public posting about get back, revenge, and he has that tweet I had earlier of up the score. That, when Shannon Stillwell committed that murder, it was to further the street gang. There's no other reason that makes any sense. And it would certainly boost his common signs, symbols, and tattoos. I only have a snippet. This is very similar to the first witness belt nap, right? Y'all have heard ample evidence of all these identifiers. You've heard about slat, slime, the lizard, the snake, the green, Copeland with the hand sign. Y'all are basically gang experts at this point, probably yourselves, because you've heard a lot about it, but it's important to show you the evidence over time. Tattoos, I've talked a lot about these. I think it's important to, these permanent YSL lifestyle. This is Trontavious Stevens. That's Antonio Sumlin. That's Antonio Sumlin. That's the Diamante Kendrick. Slime Life, YSL. And then you have face tattoos, Javon Fleetwood. Then you have Walter Murphy's going to come up and Christian Effinger. Public YSL tattoos on their face, essentially a walking billboard for the enterprise. And if you commit a crime with that on your face, it's to help let people know this is from YSL. Going a little bit further, 3 or more members, clearly there's 3 or more. RICO was 2 or more, gang, you need at least 3. So you can't have a gang of 2 under the law. It's the same principle. That block is easily checked as an element. This is just pictures of multiple. This is Rodelius Ryan adding all of the slimes. This is Kendrick, Copeland, Zachary, ball up them slimes back in 2014. And that's Trontavious Stevens, again, showing you how they publicly accept and acknowledge the gang, at least when they're outside of a courtroom. Going further, this is Quindarius Zachary, November 6th, 2014. Well, I'll keep going, but it's the video y'all watch where he says YSLD, big bullets, and he's pointing a gun at a camera. That's just him publicly. And then firearms, right? This criminal street gang is armed constantly. These are some examples of acts where this is Shannon Stillwell with that firearm, Trontavious Stevens with this firearm. Going further, that's Christian Effinger with a stock of guns. YSL Brisk, who said they want smoke. That's Zachary, still don't know any better. YSL Little D. They have these firearms because they use them. They're not sport hunting. They're not collecting them. They're shooting people with them, as you've seen repeatedly. This is Waters Road, the drum magazine, the double magazine where it's taped together. That was the stolen one from the cargo. I'm just showing you examples. And if you think about it, it's quite a lot of guns, either in photographs or physically introduced. Why do they need them? For the enterprise and for the context of this, the street gang. This is from May 9th, 2022. All of the guns in the home. Again, 2022 and 2015, they all are stopped and have and use firearms. That's the violence. That's the tool for the street gang. More firearms. This is from Rodelius Ryan in the middle with 6 firearms. This is Zachary with an AK, Zachary with an AK. This is Shannon Stillwell with nothing compatible in the trenches but a carbine, right? In 2020, over at Act 115. Over and over and over, they show you we have guns, we use guns, we're not afraid to use it. Believe them. The evidence has shown it. Gang detectives, I'm not going to go through everything. I think you've heard a lot, right? And what they talked about was not fantasy. Gaither and Dennis, when they talked about getting woken up in the middle of the night with all of this 2015, they interviewed Walter Murphy. They interviewed Quindarius Zachary. They interviewed Copeland 6 times. Not an easy task. All of that stuff they did repeatedly. They didn't just, and they all acknowledged. This is Jeffrey Williams. The cops asked them all. They know my business in all the jurisdictions. They all testified about YSL Street Gang, identifiers, identified members. Are they all wrong? Are they all just, Gaither and Dennis are just making up crimes? No. YSL is a criminal street gang as shown by their actions. And Detective Belknap discussed the origins of Rock Crew, how it became YSL. He also mentioned how YSL, the street gang he started hearing about in schools before the record label was formed, and the rivalry between the YSL and Inglewood family. I just simple 2 words, or I guess it's 3, 2015 first wave. This is waves of violence and a tsunami of evidence about a criminal enterprise operating throughout. And the second wave, Viverito told you about it. She told you about all these back and forth shootings in 2019 and 2020. And she talked about what was going on in just 1 month, March of 2022. And all of these social media, she was clipping by, it seemed like almost the hour, to show this public disrespect. Same group, same victims, same rivalry in YSL and YFN. Nothing has changed except time. That's how you know it's a criminal enterprise actively afloat. May 9th, 2022. So for Kendrick, he's with Duke, Martinez Arnold in 2015 when they're stopped by Trestle Tree. You've seen the photographs of the marijuana and the firearms. He's in Jeffrey Williams' house. This is in May of 2022. Him actively having this arm protection, firearms, and being in a house and then running when the police come with 2 other identified, documented street gang members. It furthers the gang's interest to have multiple YSL members together, even in one of their own homes, because as you've seen, they're going to always be armed and have firearms. So all you have to decide, in my opinion, if you meet the other elements, is there a street gang? Is there 2 or more members? Is his possession of the marijuana and firearm, collective construction, which Ms. Hilton will talk to you about, in furtherance of the gang? And I'll argue that it is. Shannon Stillwell's, when you talk about participation in criminal, I made it green to say found. Like I said, I don't need to belabor this much. I think it's quite obvious that Shamel Drinks is a textbook example of a gang murder, where they literally just shoot him because they happen to see him at a gas station. He's a rival, that they're following Kelvin Watts and other postings that are dissing or alluding to the murder of McMiller and Ford. And that's why he kills them. But you don't have a license to just kill who you want because they happen to be in an Instagram post or you think or they are associated with a rival gang. That's to boost his street cred within the gang. And then, every slime plays nasty. What does Rooney Lee say about that? Yeah, they can argue that they're just trying to watch the local basketball game on the nightly news.
Yeah, ESPN got bomb on because we blowing niggas down.
He's got a gun and says ESPN because we're blowing people down. I mean, I don't know what else to say. This is Kendrick's tattoo. You're going to see this is Miles Farley. ESPN tattooed on the back of his neck. This is going to be Christian Effinger coming up here. Rise and Slime, ESPN. And then I didn't clip it in there, but there's the song that Shannon Stillwell himself made where he literally says, every slime plays nasty. So these are common phrases, identifiers. And by nasty, they mean violence. You've seen it. Going a step further. Is this a street gang? This is going to be Rooney Lee and Rodelia Slime.
Hey, man, yeah, man, gang shit, man. You know what the fuck going, man. Yeah, man, slime business shit, man. Man, happy birthday to me, man. Really mean everything to me, man. Shit on me for real. Can you get an tattoo on me, man?
Gonna spin again. Nah, for real, no cap. Nigga, slack, nigga. It been a minute since I seen it up. It been a minute since I seen it up. It been a minute since I seen it up. Where you from? Where your setup? Where I'm from? P10 Clark, steady winning and he bothered me. When it's over in the street, took a party. I wouldn't try to roll to a gangster.
Technology jacked up on me, but it's their own words, right? Rodelius Ryan, his slime business, slap, and Woody.
Sex money mercy that's going on this set. I mean,
I'm the BEO. I'm the BEO of this sex money murder set. You heard Belknap, Gaither, and Dennis talk about the sex money murder, where YSL is a subset of that, right? It's their own words. They're not hiding from it. They're not slat on the finger. And then you're going to have again, Miles Farley, when the OGs don't feed, it boosts up the crime rate, right? They're actively telling you what they're doing, which was in Rodelius Ryan's Instagram. You all saw this video. Again, take them at their word. Don't just take mine.
Wipe your nose. Wipe your nose. Yeah. Big B. I know this shit. Little baby rolling. Little baby rolling.
Little baby rollout. Big rollout for a small town.
In the fucking trenches, man. Right now, the trenches keep pistols. Oh,
and they do keep pistols, and they do light people up, which means shooting at them. What is YSL about? I said the deception. You have the flash and the fame and the lifestyle, and it's all a joke. And then you have the reality of YSL street gang members exacting violence on members of their own community repeatedly over the years with impunity. The intimidation. I think y'all all know well what we've shown and walked through, the violence publicly about witnesses who come in and testify, the way that people get YSL amnesia, as I call it, when they sit in the witness stand and they can't remember entire years of their life. It's not believable, except there's real fear and there's real trepidation to coming into a court and testifying. Destruction, I don't have to go on this long. It clearly has their actions and crimes have destroyed pockets of the communities in multiple communities in Fulton County. And death, you've heard about the murders that they've committed repeatedly. It's not just words. In Fulton County, you can get a driver's license, you can get a fishing license, but what you can't do as a criminal RICO enterprise is no one's above the law, and you don't have a license to kill, and you don't have a license to operate for impunity for a decade at citizens in Fulton County. Because it doesn't matter in Fulton County if you're the richest, if you're the poorest, it doesn't matter anything about who you are. You don't deserve to be victimized. And a criminal enterprise has a lot more power and strength. And the crime that they've done, the pattern, the evidence, the agreement that they've had from publicly proclaiming it is clear that this RICO enterprise is very real. It's more than just a conspiracy. It's alive and active. They willingly and knowingly agree to it. And they don't think that anyone will hold them accountable. But as reasonable, fair-minded jurors, when you deliberate and walk through the evidence and you compare the evidence with the law from the judge, there's no conclusion but guilty on count one RICO. And I argue it's both subsection A and B, but that's for y'all to decide. And these crimes charged, the criminal street gang and RICO, I ask you guilty on all those counts. Ms. Hilt will talk to you after the defense, and we'll talk to you about why the defendants are guilty of the charged murders of Donovan Thomas and Shamel Drinks. Thank you.
All right, we're gonna take our lunch break at this point. And let's take until 12:30.
All right, for sure, please. All right, for sure.
I know he was trying to say you can get all types of licenses, but not a license to kill. But choosing the marriage license just felt funny. It felt like a choice. Why would you say he thought he ate? He did think he ate. I don't think he ate. I expected him to
30. On the jury charges that I sent, the overt act definitions include some that are previously defined, but on the possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony and possibly by a convicted felon, we will go back during lunch and make sure that the previous definition, when it's in the counts, covers only the crimes that these two defendants would be charged with, and that there may be others. So we may have to kind of do a little definition of those again to make sure that it includes whatever crimes might be alleged in the overt acts. So that's one change that's going to need to be made. All right, see y'all back.
Did Abate participate? I need to know if Abate. I feel silly saying Abate. I don't know if it's a body or a body. I think it's a body. Anyway, does he have? He does. Okay. I was about to say, if he came in there and did not participate in the group project of sharing clothing, he needs to be kicked out. Okay. I'm happy that he participated in the team. They used to match. I'm gonna have to get my child, but coordinating with the coworker. Literally, they said that they shared colors, shared language, common goal. You literally could define them as when you use it that loosely. Oh my gosh, if he had a different color, you guys, I was going to laugh so hard. Yeah, you know, this was that first presentation. I'm not in love with it. I don't think it was. I mean, it wasn't terrible. Sorry, excuse me. It wasn't terrible. I would probably give it a C. Is that rude? I don't mean to be rude. I would give it a C. Because what is typical for openings and closings, but closings, like you really bring it home, right? You lay out, hey, we are charging these people with this crime. This is how you define this crime. And this is how what they did matches the elements and the definition of this crime. Like, it is literally a journey typically. And I think he defined them, but I think the way that he laid them out was just a little bit confusing to follow. I think the PowerPoint could have helped better. And I think that which is really, I mean, maybe the jurors won't care, but like when you have aids, right? When you have presentation aids, you have a PowerPoint, you have music, you have audio, you have all of this stuff to aid in your presentation. It's supposed to be complimentary and like advantageous to you. And as ridiculous, and I know some of it is not his fault, but like the audio and the video's not really working and them cutting him off, like it becomes more distracting than it does helpful. And so I worry that like you're not helping yourself. If you're gonna have a video like, and then they did this and then it hits play, like you got to really coordinate that stuff, or else it's just going to become distracting and it doesn't really like drive your point home. It just makes people be like, what? And then the audios were jumping over each other. The videos are playing, like, bruh, you should have had help. You should have had help. If this, after a year-long trial, y'all know y'all have screwed up, like this is really your opportunity to bring it home. And for you to be having these kind of issues, it's not a Tim DJ. Why would you say that? Yeah, matter of fact, I might have to start a new link actually, because YouTube played me last time, because they be playing the clips and YouTube be like, you don't have rights to that. And I'll be like, bruh, I'm just trying to stream the trial. Oh wait, Britt, Rock said no, Mel, don't give him that. He didn't go through that presentation well. You learned that in school. Go over your stuff before you get up there. He had the clicker too. Not y'all giving him no grace. I think that I was waiting for him to explain the RICO, especially because I wanted to validate what I understood to be the case just from like my learnings. And so the fact that he did that, that's why he get low grace for me. I think that some of what he's tying to YSL and what they've laid out, I think that those, like, I think he gets a C. The other side needs to discuss that the state threw this together as obvious, even when for sure. They're about to, Max Shar and Doug Weinstein are about to demolish them. I think. I really, really do, because it's right there for them to take. Like it's the state, and this is why they get 2 times, because the state has the burden. They have to prove all this stuff. And the defense has so much to poke holes, right? We're talking about reasonable doubt. Like the defense they have so much that they can. Remember how all of their witnesses that they called didn't cooperate? Remember how I told you the status of what it's like to be in Rice Street? Would that be enough for you to agree to a plea deal? Remember how these witnesses got up there and said, you forced me to agree? Like they have so much to just be like, you right. You know what, Max Shar? You right. You know what, Weinstein? You right. Like they have so much. Prove that this was done in furtherance of the game. Prove that. I thought one of the things that was interesting to me, which I didn't recognize, is that they're saying Kendrick is a part of the Donovan Thomas murder. Okay, I knew that part, y'all. Wait for me to get to the part where I didn't know. They're saying Diamante was a part of Donovan Thomas's murder. And then they're saying that his tombstone, Donovan Thomas's tombstone, had SLAT written on it, on the headstone. Remember, somebody at some point did that. And then they said that Diamante's tattoo that he has on his arm, the way that it was written SLAT on his arm matched the way that it was written on Donovan Thomas's tombstone. And I was like, I didn't know you guys. And so what I gathered from what he was saying is that like this is showing he was a part of and responsible for that death, which is why it's on his arm, which was on the tombstone. I just thought it was very like, I didn't know that was the connection you guys were going to try to make there. Wait, Rika said he ate them up when he said, don't take my word for it, take theirs. That's the kind of stuff that it'd be. But then that's when you need, like, if you're going to say that, that's got to be mic drop, like, dang, here we go. And then you'd be like messing up your audio and you'd be like, I can't take theirs because you're not pulling it together for me. But I do, like, yeah. Prosecutors are a gang. But here's the thing too. Y'all like effing with me today. Mel, you're giving them too much credit. We know the state got a mean finesse game. And they do. That's funny. Oh, it was reported, Turning Point podcast with Ebonice Bright. It was reported the jurors are strongly engaged, so would be interested to see how they are perceiving the poorly built representation. I don't know if y'all are noticing, but Love keeps looking at the jurors. She keeps looking and then she's looking. Like she is very, I don't even know, adamantly looking at the jurors during this presentation. So I didn't see that was reported, but that's interesting. Am I loud? Am I loud, you guys? I just thought about it. I'm like yelling. Let me tone it down so I'm not busting nobody's eardrums, but that's interesting. I didn't see that it was being reported. So thank you. Thank you for pointing that out. I should go scan X for a second. Yeah, so where I sat, right? Like the people in the regular people sit in the very back row, okay? And then the row in front of that is family. And then the row in front of that is media, I think. Or maybe it's public row, media, family, media. That might be it. Anyway, regardless, there's at least 2 media rows from what I remember. And then I think 2 family rows. And then the last row is like public people. from where you sit from there, in the last row, it's like a very dark, it's like that tint that was on Shannon Stillwell's Audi that he rented. It's like very deep, dark tint, okay, on like a window. And the angle is you can only see like this way. The closer you get, like where Maurice is, the camera guy, he's like 4 or 5 rows in front. He's like like right there. Because think about tint. When you're far away from tint, like it's dark, dark, dark. As you get closer, you can start to make out stuff a little bit better. So I think like where Maurice is sitting, he probably could make out much better than like where I could sit. What I don't know is the way that the jury box is set up. So think about a box, right? If I can only see this side, I can't see what's in front. Me personally, I could not see what's in front. I don't know if that is more open. And so people have a clearer view of the jurors. So I don't know if that was very long. They're not completely out of sight, though. I would argue that the closer you are to like where the state is sitting, the state has the best view of them because they are right there. So like right there. So the closer you are to where the state is sitting, the better view I would say like you have of them. Ron, I said something inappropriate. You making it, Doug and Max have not spoken yet. They have not done their closings yet. They will after lunch. This is on lunch. And after lunch, they're going to get up and do their closings. My baby's coming back because she probably wants food. Yeah. What? Oh, it's pizza? Pizza. Uh-huh. Did you eat yet? Yeah. What did you have? Cookie. You had a cookie? Yeah. No cookie for breakfast. Okay, go get food. No cookies, though. Sorry, y'all. Oh, and Kelly's saying, I did see that they have an overflow room open today in the next courtroom over. I did see that, which makes it even worse, low-key, because then you really don't get no action. You get very little action. She absolutely did not call me Mel. We don't play them games. It's mama all day. She get kicked out of my house calling me Mel. No, I'm just kidding. Not y'all saying cookies for breakfast. No. She not having cookies for breakfast. Y'all let y'all kids have cookies for breakfast. She need regular food. Anyway, Brandy is saying, Mel, read my comment, please. Let me scroll up and see what you said, girl. Brandy, what you say? We have had a lot of coverage on the Fulton County jail conditions here. The jury has heard about it, which will help the defense position on why people made deals. 100%. I agree with that. 100%. And it would be silly to think not. And that's why, I mean, what's amazing, what's smart is that before those reports came out for the Fulton County Jail, that, the report from last week, before that came out, Max Sharp has been talking about these conditions since his opening. Max Sharp has keyed in on why why co-defendants and other people in this case, why they would take a plea deal from his opening. Every single witness that has come on that stand that has taken a plea deal or has been on the stand at all and had to testify, if they have been in Fulton County Jail, he has emphasized that. So absolutely, that is going to play in the defense's favor. I mean, the same way it hit the rest of us. And yeah, if y'all have been listening to me for a while, one of my favorite things to come out of the openings was Max Sharp highlighting them Fulton County Blues. He told them since the beginning, make sure you pay attention to the witnesses, the people who get on the stand who are in or have been in them Fulton County Blues. His whole thing was colors. Remember, he talked about green, he talked about blue. I can't remember the other colors, but that's what I'm looking forward to. Max gonna bring home them Fulton County Blues and he's gonna talk about that jail. He absolutely is. And it's a good point. It's a good point. To get out of that Fulton County. Y'all remember? Yep. Sandy said, It's the Thanksgiving holiday meal. Let that baby have a cookie with her breakfast. No. If I had Cookie Crisp cereal, but she's not just gonna have straight up cookies. I'm not listening to y'all. Some days I do too. Some days I'll be like, girl, chips. I don't care. I don't really care. Today is not that day. It might be in a minute though, because if I'm in here and I can't get to her, then you gotta eat something. So whatever is in reach of your 3-year-old hand, grab it. I think so too. Gaston, I think so too. Mac's going to talk about the jail and Doug's going to talk about the state and the police. I could see this happening. I could see this happening. I mean, and think about, right, they're going to focus in on the convenience of it. They wanted a big fish. They didn't want to do a real investigation. They didn't, some of that we don't have, you know, Max is going to say, we don't have no reports. You know, Max is going to say, where are the reports? And if Brian was here, he would say, where's the McDonald's steak? He going to talk about it. Absolutely. Spilling the tea. I'm honestly excited about it. We deserve something exciting after sitting through the state. I know that early on. Yes, I did. Cass, Mel, did you see the man in the judge murder? That's the Kentucky case. Pled not guilty. Oh, wait, did I know he pled not guilty? I thought he did the indictment and then they were supposed to have a hearing, I think, right? Yep, Blacker reports, 100%. I'm more interested in the defense's closing arguments. I think those will be good. I think so too. And you guys, what I'm going to do, I'm going to decide to do this now. I'm telling y'all now. I'm going to do a new link only because they had so much music play in this one. And my other video, YouTube was on my neck. Here's walk with me. Because here's what I think. Hold on. Mopo. Mel, if the state really wanted to stand on business, they would have worn blue in representation of the Fulton County Blues. They should have, low-key. Make a statement. Make a statement. Oh, Jasmine said they just had Mickey Stein's arraignment. Oh, it just happened. Okay. I was about to say, I don't think I knew he pled guilty. Okay. They had the arraignment. Mel, Doug said, if Yak is found not guilty, he still has some charges he has to deal with. Do you know what they are concerning his family? I don't want to, I may know, but I don't want to say until I'm 100% sure. So I'll have to look it up to verify that what I'm thinking is what that's in reference to. So what'll happen is they will finish closings today. It's going to be all day. Tomorrow, she'll do the instructions and the charge to the jury, and then they'll start deliberating on Wednesday. That's the plan. That's what they agreed to last week. You stumbled across this link scrolling on mine. I'm sad I missed that. Homeboy, Mickey Stein. I'm gonna have to watch that later. I can't wait. I can't wait for actually that Mickey Stein's trial. I cannot wait because we need the info on that. I was gonna say something. I forgot that quick. We're still waiting. They had Diddy's bail they have until today, right now. Actually, she said Monday at noon. So they probably just submit. I should check my email. I'll probably have a email because they had to submit stuff to the judge by today at look at this. Look, see, I just said it. Y'all can't see my full email, but I just said I probably have an email about it, and I do. They had until noon, and here it is, to submit a letter, and it says letter. So they had until noon to submit their letter, and then the judge will make a ruling after that. I'd imagine probably tomorrow. Maybe end of day today, but tomorrow. Let me scroll. Okay. Thank you. I'll not today because we're gonna be here all day, so I'll watch it probably tomorrow. They'll come back in at 12:30, so in I don't know 18 minutes. Let's watch Mickey before lunch ends. I don't know if I want to, but I gotta get my baby some food. So when I end here, I can go make sure they're set up and then I can come back. Do I think they'll let Melly out? Honestly, no. I don't think so. If I'm being honest, I don't think so. I think that jails, unfortunately, have a lot of leeway and a lot of space to treat people terribly. And regardless of their crime, they have a lot of space to be able to put people in the hole for years, you know? So I don't think that I don't think that the judge will, personally, but I guess we'll see. Oh man, say more words on the new link. It was hard to find you this morning. I'm on all your platforms. I watch on YouTube, comment phone. Okay. Thank you for that. I will, I'll say more. Yeah. Maybe did. Ate 5 cookies by now. She probably have. You haven't met my child? Oh my goodness. Okay, I'll put like YSL closing arguments or defense closing arguments. Yeah, I'll do that. Matter of fact, let me get it together now. I could do a StreamYard one right now. Can get it ready. And I guess we'll just keep watching 11 Alive because the audio seems to be better here. I thought that this was going to go a different way. I can put on a masterclass of lies. I thought you were going to say a masterclass of closing arguments, which would have not been sure, but I just didn't know that that's where you're going. Hello, LaTanya. Oh, you've been here this morning and you just became a member. Thank you for joining. Shout out to you. I have to, you know what? I'm learning about I know, but I just like the language, the terms, all of that, like SEO really matters. And sometimes I'm just so casual that I just be like, whatever. If people find it, they find it. If not, whatever. I need to pay more attention. So thank you for highlighting that. I'll do better. Over at 12:30. Yes, audio is great today. So I have a mic because who was it in the live last week? Somebody in the live last week. I can't remember who it was. I'm sure when I see your name, I'll remember. But they were like, don't you have a mic or something? Can you help us get a mic? So I have a mic. So I'm happy to hear that it's working. I'm happy to hear that this is better. Hilarious. Okay, y'all. I'm going to oh, not your audio. Theirs. Okay. Even if you were talking about mine, I laugh. It's fine. I'm not offended. Okay. I am going to get this new link prepared. I should have went back to the beginning though. I wanted to hear, I know, okay. Okay. I'm doing it. Okay. YSL trial defense closing arguments. Or what about like Shart and Weinstein give closing arguments? Okay. I'm creating it now. I know, y'all know I'm churchy. By the time I really leave, lunch will be over. I want to set this one up just so I can send it to y'all first. Okay. So I'm putting it in here. It's not live yet, but just know that that's the link. Let me see. Come on. I have 10 minutes. Did it work? Okay, let me put, okay, I start getting confused. So Mel and Leaving are in a toxic relationship. First of all, I was trying to find it to pin. I'm so bad. It'd be too many. Okay, this is it. There it is. Jesus. Okay. Place pin message. So I'm pinning that one. I'm going to get this one ready. Thank y'all for sitting through this with me. And then I'm going to, if you're Patreon, I'm going to just send out the new link there as well. Here. Okay, so I just sent it. So I am going to close this one. I'll meet y'all in that other one in about 10 minutes. I'm going to get some food for my kids, make sure they're straight, and then I'll be back. But I need the 10-minute break so that I can set them up. Okay? And I'll go live on the new one. Okay, bye. Go join the new one.